Hello, here we are on week 4 of The Artist's Way, but I'm going to recap week 3, which did not go as well as I wanted it to or planned, but hey, such is life, and that is all right. So, quick recap of week 3 and what we talked about. If I can find the chapter. So, week 3 is titled Recovering a Sense of Power. And this is a kind of a long chapter. So, first, we talked about how anger and how anger is fuel. And in the recovery of a blocked artist, anger is a sign of health. I don't know if I felt anger this past week because honestly, everything has been kind of the same and normal, quote unquote. I think I just felt kind of frustrated and tired. It was one of those weeks. And then we talked about synchronicity too. So, synchronicity is kind of like coincidences or things that happen in your life that seem to line up and is in alignment with everything that you have been planning for, sort of. It's kind of like, so when you are trying to find, say, like a new couch, and then suddenly somebody in your life comes in and says, hey, I have this couch that I need to give away. Do you want it? So that's a type of synchronicity, which I kind of talked about in my journals of moments of synchronicity that happened last week, which I'll get into, which I think is cool. Kind of like taking those coincidences and not just saying, oh, it's coincidence. It's really like God is acting upon your best interests, and God, however you take that, I take it as, the higher being who is in plan of everything that is laid out for our life has been planned by God. That is my belief, my individual belief. And this also, Julia goes into synchronicity as defined by Jung, if you know Jung, the philosopher, I think, or like psychoanalyst something. Synchronicity was loosely defined as a fortuitous intermeshing of events. Back in the 60s, they called it like serendipity. And now, kind of going, this book was written like 30 years ago or something, or even more than that. But still, I think a lot of things in here are still very relevant today. And then in the next page after that quote from Jung, it goes into the possibility, this is in Julia's words, the possibility of an intelligent and responsive universe acting and reacting in our own interests. So, God is efficient, which the actress Juliana McCarthy always says. And I do feel that. I talked about also in my notes here the gut feeling and instinct is key. I think women especially have that gut instinct, whether it's about danger, whether it's about taking the decisions and using our wisdom and intelligence to move on to the next step. Only we know that, and only God knows that, what is best for us. So I think recovering that sense of power within our own decisions, and even though we don't know where we're going, just taking the next step is super important and key. And the next section also goes into shame and having shame on your actions and the reactions from the people around you. I think shame also in Asian culture and specifically Filipino culture is a huge thing too, and a huge aspect of it. I'm lucky that I come from a family and a background that, especially in the newer generations and like my generation, my brother and my cousins, we are not necessarily shamed for the decisions we make, but I think it's still apparent in modern Asian American culture to kind of harbor that shame and that inner struggle within us. And that's either stemming from our communities, from our other external circumstances, family, everything like that. I think it's like having the audacity to say something different or say and stand out from the status quo that is a little bit, it's still a struggle for people to grapple with. And I think, I'm, like I said, I'm still lucky to be in a place where I am not shamed for who I am and the things that I pursue. But I do think it's still like an internal thing that I struggle with sometimes, to like be like, why do I feel shamed for sharing this, or why do I feel shy for trying something new out that maybe doesn't like align with what I did before. So I think that's another thing too that I'm continuing to learn, and then reading this has also been eye-opening. And then we also go into criticism too. I think criticism as well is another aspect of shame, where when we share something vulnerable and we get to that place where we want to finish a product, especially for creatives, I think it's always the end product, like right before we finish it, we just don't want to. And I think it's because it's coming from a place of vulnerability. And Julia also talks about that, how we must learn to protect our artist child from shame, and also learning where and when to seek out right criticism. Because she also says that not all criticism is shaming. I think, too, coming from my creative writing degree and taking different workshops as well, I was able to differentiate and kind of point out and pick out which criticism serves me best and which criticism may be a little bit more personal or feel more personal. Because when you share something with other people, especially if it's a creative work of art and you receive criticism from it, it kind of feels very pointed in a way, and it feels like people are shaming your own vulnerability. And I think for the most part, that's not the case if people are coming from a good perspective or like good intentions. But I do think still sometimes it may come across not as productive. So it's always like, what is constructive criticism? What can I take moving forward on the second draft, third draft, that will help elevate my work and stuff like that. But it's also still deeply personal. So I think it's like the artist is the only one who knows their art the best. So that's why through your journey and recovery, you should try to take those steps and like evaluate what is important and what's not. And then Julia also says it's God's will for us to be creative. And I wrote, period. So true. And then, yeah, we did a little bit of detective work to answer some of these prompts about our inner child, what our favorite toy was, what our favorite game was, what we want to do with our dreams, what our favorite way to dress is, what we would do if we didn't think we'd look so crazy and stuff like that. So I also liked answering those prompts to kind of be more introspective. And then, yeah, I think also just she ends the chapter off on taking growth one day at a time. Growth kind of happens in spurts, especially if it's a long journey like this one. And so in between your growth, if you are finding yourself tired or exhausted, rest is also growth in itself. And I do think that that is me, or that has been me the past week. I have been very tired and exhausted like this past week, even though nothing really happened. Exactly. I was very busy at work, and I only wrote my morning pages like 5 days out of the last week, because Wednesday and Thursday slept in, woke up late, and then just got to work right away. So I noticed those days too that I felt very irritable. And that was another thing that Julia talks about in the 4th chapter, where at this point, when you find yourself writing the morning pages every day and then you skip a day, one tends to feel more irritable or just like more frustrated and impatient. And I was like, oh, that resonates. I did feel that last week. So, trying to get back on doing my morning pages consistently this week. And I do see that doing them helps me feel more grounded and with a clear mind every day. Then I also, in this last week, there was just a reminder to check in with yourself throughout the day, see how you're feeling, gauge how you're feeling. I think sometimes we forget to check in with ourselves, especially if we're super busy. So I found myself trying to work on that as well. I only, because I was very tired and just like not super in it last week, I only did like half of the tasks, but some of them were to describe your childhood room, look at your habits and what's useful to you and not, point to your inner compass. I did like the inner compass task. It was kind of just like do an activity, take an hour to follow your inner compass by doing an artist brain activity, which that can be anything like painting, driving, walking. So what I did, I spent way longer than an hour. But although I felt unproductive last week, one thing that I really liked was finishing this puzzle. Ooh, this frame is kind of big. Hopefully you can see everything, but I finished this Harry Potter puzzle. This is 500 pieces, and it took me all week, but I finished on Saturday, and I felt very accomplished. So this frame also doesn't have room anywhere in the house yet to be put up, so it's kind of just hanging out in my room on the floor, sort of displayed. But yeah, that was my artist brain activity, and I'm very proud of it. And then yeah, we did lists of people we admire, people you wish you had met who are dead, and people who are dead whom you'd like to hang out with for a while. And then compare the two lists and see what you really like and really admire compared to what you think you should like and admire. So I did that. I just want to look at my lists and see what I wrote. Because I wrote some like celebrities or like popular people. So, five people you wish you had met who are dead. I wrote Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Robin Williams, Matthew Perry, and Selena. And five people who are dead whom you'd like to hang out with for a while in eternity. So the first one that I wrote was my grandma. My grandma passed a couple months ago, and although I saw her last summer, I do want to hang out with her for a while in eternity. I also wrote Harriet Tubman, Maggie O'Farrell, Jose Rizal, and Sylvia Plath. So, and then it was the second trait or like second task to follow up with this was what traits do you find in these people that you look for in your friends? Then compare the two sets of lists, what you like and admire versus what you think you should like and admire. So I think I took this as like the people who you wish you had met who are dead, but then the second prompt is who are dead whom you'd like to hang out with for a while in eternity. So looking at that list is like a little bit deeper, and I think, and then looking at the traits in those lists of people, I wrote like wisdom, loyalty, humor, creative, openness, love for the arts, talented, witty, intelligent. So those are like the kind of people who I really like and admire. So I liked that prompt as well. So yeah, last part. How many days did I do my morning pages? I said 5 out of 7. The experience was kind of rough when I skipped, and now I realize that. Did I do my artist date this week? I did. I went on a very long walk. I usually don't walk past 30 minutes, but this time the weather was so nice on Friday. It was like 70s here, and now it's cold again, but whatever. I really liked spending time outside and just getting out after being sequestered inside for a while and just like rotting away or like bed rotting because I was so tired. But sometimes we need those days, so it's fine. And then, did I experience any synchronicity this week? So I'll go into these last few check-in questions too. Beep, 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 beep. So I keep a notes app in my phone, and I'm trying to update it more frequently. So I'm going to use this phone app as like a way to track synchronicities or things that I just realize in life. So then, oh, the notes app is called Good Things Are Always Happening to Me Too. So I wrote more of these notes more extensively in my phone, but um, I came across this video and it was saying like the past is done, you learned your lessons, you are free, and like talking about how the people in your life are the people who are meant to be in your life right now, and whoever left did for a reason. They served their purpose, and now we have moved on, and life and love is all around me. Some things that I wrote, and I'm like, so true. And then I felt like I was just like connected with some of my high school friends this week too, this past week, like just talking about stuff that we're planning for and things that we want to do, like hanging out. So we were like texting about that. And then lastly, I think this is the biggest synchronicity is Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine Deluxe Brighter Days Ahead album releasing. So that I have that on loop. Like I have been playing it every single day since Friday. It hasn't been that long, but I'm just gonna be listening to that for the rest of the week. I think it dropped at a perfect time in my life, and it's just very reflective and nostalgic. And the production is amazing, and Ari's lyricism is amazing. She's one of the most talented vocalists of our generation, and I will stand by that. So I'm obsessed with that. I think I just felt very connected to her album and her piece of art and her vulnerability. And I just resonate so much with some of the lyrics and the music. So that was another moment of synchronicity. I think, and then the last question was talking about other issues I realized as I continue in recovery. And I think the one that I talked about was how recovery is rest, and I just need to sometimes purge and then need to recover after that. But then also realizing that sometimes you just need to get off of your butt and start doing the work. So I think also balancing that as well is a learning progress or learning opportunity that I'm still working on. So yeah, we're continuing to learn and grow, and I feel more active this week and just ready to take on whatever else is coming. So yeah, that was my check-in for the week. Thanks for watching, and I'll check in on week 4 soon. Bye.